because at the end of the day, doing a large project or a small project, most of the time the difficulties are the same.
So we understand that REYL has added corporate advisory services to the original services that it already offered. How is your M&A project progressing?
As you might know, REYL started to be involved in advisory projects already about 4 years ago. Sometimes they were sporadic. And then the company decided actually to establish a corporate advisory and structuring business unit. And this unit started actually, some of the first projects were advisory on M&A, since also the founder of the bank, they have a background of investment banking, they knew the business. But the business really started more on a more, let's say, continuous basis, a little bit over a couple of years ago, following also M&A projects. And since then, we try especially to target entrepreneurs that are either client of the firm or they could be a future prospect of the firm. Since we try at REYL to look after what are the needs of entrepreneurs, individuals, and often they don't distinguish as much their private wealth with the wealth of the corporate, the companies that they own. And they are sometimes in some stages of either their own life or also the life of their companies in which they need to decide what to do. So there could be financing, and we also look at financing some of the companies with private placement, or sometimes also they have a question about what to do strategically. And others instead is like a project that we just closed in June, was the sales of an hospital in Vietnam, where the two shareholders who are based in Europe, but they develop the business there, one of them was based also in Vietnam, took over and developed an hospital that is called the French Hospital in Hanoi, HFH, Hanoi French Hospital. And it grew to a stage that the question was also what the shareholder wanted to continue, because they obtained the license to increase the size of the hospital. And at that stage, they received interest from different parties, and so they decided to sell. The question is, the sales was not one of the easiest. They had different parties interested, and so they come to us to say, how could we help them in handling the sales process?
And you closed that deal in June, as you said. How was that process for you?
Well, it was an interesting process because when we were contacted, the owners already had some interest from different buyers, and some of them very serious buyers from the region. But those offers were letter of intent, where they were specifying a price and interest, but not necessarily they'd already done all the due diligence and agreed on a sales and purchase agreement. Therefore, we practically tried to put everyone on a plain level field with the same kind of information and structure an auction where different parties went to visit the business, spoke with the management, the doctors, and then they come up with an offer, and we selected then one party, and with this party then we closed. The complication was also because there was a not straightforward ownership structure. What I mean is from a legal point of view with different jurisdictions. There was also some issues in relating to the time, but obtaining the permission to expand the business, because this was a condition to go ahead with the transaction, of course. And therefore was, let's say, not always plain sailing, but I would say that almost never you find a project that is plain sailing, even when it looks like. And in this case, our success was that we increased the offer by more than 20% from the original letter, the highest letter of intent that they received. So, of course, the clients were happy about the results because they could extricate the full value of the asset.
And in regards to these M&A advisory projects, what trends have you noticed?
I would say that the trend that I notice mainly that is also in regards to smaller transaction, private transaction, the one which we focus mainly, but also to larger corporate, is that often private boutique or small banks like ours have success in obtaining mandates. And the reason is that the owners, sometimes they like really to feel that the advisor are close to them. And they are not there just for one transaction and then disappear. And in our case, since we aim with those clients to continue to have a relationship and also not only in relation to their corporate business, probably they feel that they are better treated than other kind of advisor. But also for a larger organization, this is a trend that boutique have been quite successful, especially in the United States, beating also in very large transaction the likes of Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs. But even in Europe, there is more a trend to understand that the advice is something more intangible and is not always necessarily linked to the financing that a bank could provide. And so they try to decouple the two, and therefore to understand that there is value added in experienced advisory. And in our case, we have a team that has many years of experience in very large banks, and therefore the advice that they receive is the same if it was one of the leading banks. Because at the end of the day, doing a large project or a small project, most of the time the difficulties are the same. And so we think that we can benefit for this increased understanding of the clients of what we can offer.
Well, thank you for coming in and giving us an insight and also an update on what you've been doing.
Thank you to you to have us here. Thank you.
That's all from myself and Teofilo, but if you like this video, be sure to give it a like and comment on our website, dukascopy.tv.